So this week was interesting. Or actually, the week prior was interesting.
Which week prior?
Last week.
Because this week comes out next week, which is last week.
No, this week comes out on Friday, and today's Monday. So last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's on first, motherfucker?
Yeah. Second.
What we're talking about is the passing of DMX.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about artists and people that were impactful, right? The question is how impactful was DMX's art, or even him as a person? How was that to you? Like, what did DMX mean to you? Like, I mean, he's not a random rapper, right? He's a rapper from the early 2000s and the late 90s that had a huge impact on culture.
I think he's one of those few artists, I won't even refer to him as a rapper because I think he's bigger than that, that was able to link a lot of cultures together because of how gritty and how raw he was, that people identified with that. It wasn't just like a New York thing, where it was all borough-oriented, even though that's,
He's from Yonkers.
Whatever.
Yeah.
New York, it's all the same shit to me.
Yeah, of course.
And so, but he's embracing that whole East Coast thing, but also not just being urban, but also appealing to a lot of white kids who listen to like heavy metal and hard rock because he had that sound. You know what I mean? I felt like at the time he sounded like some other people, but were able to go bigger.
Right.
He honestly also came out of Rough Rider music, which really wasn't producing music. They weren't, Rough Riders as an entity was not producers.
Right.
They hired people. They were like a housing. Yeah. And so they brought him to the table. I don't think a lot of people really knew that much about DMX. I don't think they knew how much money he gave away.
Yeah.
I don't think they realized how much he really didn't care. There's one cat, like I've talked to a lot of OGs like Mag and those guys, and they were like, that is a dude who was never for sale. Like you could not buy that cat.
Yeah.
Heavy D was the one that...
Yeah, that's right.
God bless the dead, Heavy D, rest in peace, right? I think when we're talking about X, there is a specialness that was even from his tone. Like you mentioned, it felt rock and roll-ish, right? It felt like...
gritty and raw.
Yeah.
That was how heavy his heart
like when we're talking about the delivery to the tone, to his actual ability to write really good songs, but then there was a certain amount of transparency. He was a very tortured soul. Like he was, if something hurt him, he wrote about it. If something he was in love, he wrote about it. If he was angry, he wrote about it. And I think that type of transparency is what made him so like approachable by everyone.
His prayers.
And that's what I'm talking about.
I'm not religious, as we all well know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a prayer that DMX has said that I haven't heard.
Yeah, I think. Well, see, X is also really special because people kind of listen to the songs and they skip over the accomplishment. The first rapper to ever have 2 #1 albums in the same year. Yeah. He's also the first rapper to ever have his first 5 albums go #1 in a row. And when we're talking about,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when we're talking about other rappers that are prolific, the Jay-Z's of the world, right? The Tupacs of the world, right? Like, DMX actually belongs in the conversation, right? And when you think back to how diverse the music was, like a lot of music was wild gangster, right? A lot of music was violent, right? But then he has a song talking to God, right? He has a song talking to Damien.
Right, with the devil,
is a fantastic song, right?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that was him.
Man, well, so the first Dmx song I ever heard was Stop Being Greedy. Right. And I heard Stop Being Greedy before I saw the video, and I thought it was 2 different rappers.
Right.
And then I saw the video, I was like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
It blew my mind to have one rapper with that much of diversity in his delivery. How he delivered the rhyme actually sounded like 2 different people.
Right. And he did that a couple times.
Favorite DMX song? 1 out of the top 5. Because he had some pop songs that I really wasn't into. But, man, the songs that I love by DMX are in my...
I don't want to just choose one, but what always kind of funny to me is that, we have our Rough Rider anthem.
Yes.
Right? And it's almost a requirement. And how many times I walk into a club or into an event, and we're like, oh, my God, they're going to play the damn song.
As soon as you have the vest on and you walk in there, the song drops.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we would be like, yeah, great. Stop, stop. First we had him like, then we're like, but now he's not here. And so you kind of go like, oh my God, now it brings a different tone if I hear it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a renewed vigor.
Yeah.
Which is sad You know what I mean?
Right.
But damn.
You know, that's Swizz Beatz' very first placement ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's something else about DMX that people don't really pay attention to, is that album was one of the first albums that actually transitioned from sampled beats to keyboard beats, right? When Swizz is making the Rough Rider anthem, there's not a sample in that track.
No.
I think they used a Korg Triton. The sound, nobody uses the Korg Triton anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, right? But the point is, that was one of the beats made on a keyboard, because then it kind of opens the door, because you get guys like Pharrell, who does a similar like off syncopation, on syncopation with the drums, and then you get guys like Timbaland and so on and so forth. But DMX was huge. We're talking about a rapper that was at the top of the world. I know you saw that. I think it was Woodstock performance.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It looked like
Ridiculous.
everybody on Earth came
Yeah.
to the show.
And they all knew
the biggest
his
I've ever
That
seen.
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting because you said that you made a rock and roll reference,
Yeah.
because the only other reference
That
where
was
I've
a
seen the
rock
crowd.
star moment.
Yes, because has anybody ever seen the Bulls on Parade Rage Against the Machine video?
Yeah.
It's similar, but DMX's crowd is a lot bigger.
And he didn't even have to finish the song.
No,
Everybody
they sang
was
it for
singing
him.
the song.
Yeah, you
He's
know,
the most electrifying person to ever rock a stage.
because he's on stage by himself.
Yeah, I think as a solo person.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen him in person
Yeah.
at least 10 times.
Right.
I've been on the stage with him 5 times, right next to him while he does that shit.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
No.
We've all been together in the right there,
Yeah.
like watching this.
Yeah,
Like,
and when
it's
he
amazing.
passed away, and I think that we all put a post, because DMX was like an encapsulation of an energy that was actually supported by us on our bikes
Right.
in the streets. And when we posted about, you know, feeling heartbroken about him passing away, there were a lot of people that sent us condolences. Which was
Yeah.
really
It
was really
it was
weird.
really
It
it was
was
weird,
kinda
but
weird.
it was really sweet though. It was like,
your
guy is
neighbors
gone.
right here.
Yeah.
They're doing this to me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I got people. Hey, I'm like, hey.
which
Yeah,
is,
I
it
had
makes
a
it
lot
feel more
too.
special.
And there's not a lot of us that had the opportunity to spend any time with DMX.
Right.
But because he was such a spearhead,
Yeah.
like if you say the Dean family, people go, not really familiar.
Right.
If you say Swizz Beatz, who was part of the Dean family, people go,
He's a
think I
cousin.
may have heard of him.
Right.
Right? Even though he is one of the most
pretty
prolific producers.
It's more like if you say
period.
something like drag on, people are like, oh, I kind of think I know that
ask
guy.
ask a
Drag is a
person who
beast.
listens to hip hop today and ask them if they knew Swizz Beatz, is most of them will go, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah.
you ask who DMX is,
Yeah.
and they
It's-
all know who X is, and they go, "Oh, Rough Riders, like the DMX guy, Rough Riders," and we're like, "Yeah." You know, they only know the correlation on that capacity.
You know, in connection to the conversation we were having earlier about negative habitual behaviors, right? DMX was someone that was struggling with demons, right? Like
In
when he had an overdose and he went into a coma, I had almost, this might sound crazy, but I had the same response when Tupac got shot for the second time. Because in my head, I was
bounce
like,
back.
yeah,
He'll
in my
bounce
head,
back.
I was like, bullets can't kill Tupac. He got shot in the elevator. You know what I mean? Like, can't kill Tupac with bullets. When I heard that DMX was in a coma because of drugs, a drug overdose, I was like, he'll be all right. Drugs can't kill DMX, because we just saw him in the Snoop Dogg verses,
Versus battle.
and he was fat and
Healthy.
he was healthy, because when people go to
He's
rehab,
bigger than he normally is.
when people go to rehab, they often eat a lot of sugar because sugar makes you feel good.
It
And-
gives you the endorphin
yeah,
rush.
and he wasn't drinking alcohol. He was drinking. He even says it. I'm drinking Kool-Aid, and it feels like this light at the end of the tunnel. DMX had 17 children.
Yeah.
17 children. I also saw that Jay-Z and Beyonce purchased his masters.
That's a lie.
dope.
Oh,
Yeah, Swiss chimed in on that and said it's
Yeah.
not true.
yeah, because that would have been really dope.
I would imagine the Dean family might own them.
No, the Dean family owns it, but I don't think they would ever sell those masters. You
I
know
don't
how
think
much
so either.
money those master recordings are worth?
You couldn't turn on the radio the last week without hearing.
Yeah,
it.
well, no, we're talking about. Listen, Prince was still one of the top 5 selling artists
Right.
last year.
Right.
Did
Right.
you hear that they're dropping an album?
There's a new Prince album. Prince has thousands of songs. Prince can put an album out every year for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Right?
That's insane.
Yeah, so we're talking about DMX being a prolific artist, being a prolific rapper, being an impactful person in culture. I think he deserves his place in the you know, when we're talking about the
I do
greatest
think
rappers
so.
of all time.
I
right?
do think he's in my top 10.
Yeah, definitely in my top 10.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I went back because It Is Dark and Hell Is Hot is one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's different than what it was else was being released in the same time.
Right. Josh, favorite DMX song? 1 out of the top 5. First thing that comes to head.
Crime Story.
Crime Story. Yes. All right. ATF.
ATF.
Boom, boom, boom. Open the door. ATF.
I love
Too late to
those.
send my girl downstairs and say he left.
His storytelling was crazy.
Yeah,
I
man.
feel like because it was pretty factual.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. He's telling the
Yeah.
story.
When people, you see all the people giving their, you know, condolences and their heartfelt feelings, and they tell these stories about how genuine a person he was.
Well, that was the thing. I was talking to our big homie Magnum about it, and he said the one thing, and what my experience with X2 was, if X was down for you, that's it.
Yeah.
He was down for you, and if he wasn't, he just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like there was no middle ground, and,
Right.
and X would make a call on you as a person, like, nah, I'm not messing with that cat. I don't know, I don't like his vibe. You know what I mean? And you could not talk him into it.
Right.
And that was it. And it didn't matter the money.
You know, one of the saddest things about dying so early, because he was 50 or 51? He was 50.
He was 50.
Yeah, is that a lot of the like other types of musicians get to take a somewhat of a victory lap, right? Like, and they get
I felt
to
like
maintain.
he was trying to get a resurgence.
Yeah, they
Well,
get
he was
to.
working on an album.
He was working on an album, but they get to maintain this thing, right?
In
And
fact,
I remember
they have a full album.
they probably do.
Yeah.
And you know how it was in the 80s? They said, well, hip hop is not going to last that long. It's only a fad. It'll be here and it'll be
KRS-One
gone.
said that.
Yeah, to the point where now we have like different derivations of hip hop. Some of this rap music and hip hop music doesn't even feel like the stuff that we grew up listening to. But like, we're not going to get, you know, It Is Dark and Hell Is Hot tour. Like the Rolling Stones can tour an album from 30 years ago,
Right.
and just, you know, still do it. And these guys is old.
Yeah.
These guys is great grandfathers at this point. You know what I mean? And
We will have some more stuff coming about DMX. There's a bunch of stuff in the works. I know his funeral is this coming weekend,
Yeah.
which the show is
I
out
was
on
gonna
a
go.
Friday,
I
which
was
will
gonna
be
go.
the next day.
I was gonna go, but we have that
too.
thing cracking in Memphis, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do
We're
both,
going to have some
but-
stuff to report back once it goes down.
Absolutely. So,
You know, we'll be able to post some video clips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a nationwide activity.
leave it in the comments. I know I say that all the time. Favorite DMX song,
Yeah, if you listen to DMX.
if you listen to it. If not, go listen to It Is Dark and Hell Is Hot.
Scholar,
I think very deeply.
sinner,